This is Tirana's AcreForward, the ag industry's most thought-provoking podcast. Listen to interesting people as we go in-depth into the issues affecting crop advisors, growers, and farm communities, uncovering the truth about the ag business and using technology to prepare for the unforeseeable. Ready to explore the future? Let's dig in.
Welcome to the AcreForward podcast, where we talk about the latest insights and innovations in the ag industry. I'm your host, Elaina Ripberger, Customer Success Representative with Nutrien, located here at our headquarters in Westfield, Indiana. Today is my very first episode. I recently joined the Nutrien team and am excited about the cutting-edge technologies and practices shaping modern agriculture. Today, we have a special guest joining us from Mineral Point, Wisconsin, Andrew Tucker, a precision agronomist at Nutrien Ag Solutions. Andrew is passionate about precision ag and ag tech in general, with extensive experience in deploying drone spraying and using advanced technology solutions like Nutrien to optimize crop performance. Welcome to the show, Andrew.
Thanks, Elaina. Glad to be here.
Yeah, of course. I guess we're just going to start off talking about your background. So can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into precision agriculture and what led you to Nutrien Ag Solutions?
Sure. I originally from Southeast Iowa, Oskaloosa, Iowa to be exact, and had several extended family members that operated farms. As a kid, I spent a lot of time on those farms and really developed a love for agriculture from my uncles and my cousins. And out of high school, I looked to get into the ag retail industry and worked with the standard products, your fertilizers and chems and seed. And I realized there was a big need in the industry for precision agriculture. How can we be more responsible with the products that we're applying? Input costs tend to keep going up in price. Market prices for the commodities we sell don't always go up at the same rate, and they fluctuate quite a bit. And as we can manage our input costs and really put the right products down at the right place, using the 4 R's of nutrient management, we can see our profitability increase in agriculture. And when the drones started coming out, I just saw that as the next area of precision ag, using them primarily initially for scouting. So some of the first Phantom drones that came out, I was running those back in 2011, 2012. It gave me the ability to look at a whole field without having to actually cross each acre of the field, just using the camera on the drone to see what was going on, looking for patterns in the field. That started, early on in my agronomy career, and the drones have just advanced tremendously, being able to cover more acres. And now, as of late, we've gotten into doing applications with drones, both spraying and spreading applications. Just last night, I was doing some spot spraying with a drone. And having the Nutrien out getting taken care of for me saves me a step. And that has been a big time saver for what I've got going on. I know what's going to be going on in the field before I go out there, and I can start making plans to potentially bring a sprayer drone or a spreader drone out with me and do some fine tuning of what's actually happening out there in the field.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that background. I have heard that you in the past have taught at community college. I guess, can you tell me kind of how that experience has influenced your approach to agronomy and working with growers? It sounds like education is probably a big part of how you become a trusted advisor for these growers.
Well, it starts out just in the fact that I'm always wanting to learn, that I don't think you ever stop learning. And it's really difficult the busier we get in our lives. Sabrina and I, we have 7 kids at home. So to be able to take care of my family and take care of work and then figure out somehow to spend time continuing to learn can be challenging to balance all of that. One of the main reasons I went to start teaching about 6 years ago was because it would give me a dedicated time to continue to learn for myself. I always wanted to stay up with the technology. I taught a precision ag class at a tech school in Monroe, Wisconsin. This is the first year now that I haven't been teaching just because of time constraints. I did give that up. But not only was I continuing to learn myself and stay on top of technology, I was also able to share that with new people in the community that are going into agriculture. Some, and we had people, from right out of high school to a middle of their careers, coming in and taking agronomy classes and being able to work with them and really just learning together, which is a big part of what we do with our trials and some of the work we've got going on. It's fun. It's fun to learn. It's fun to grow. If we continue to do everything the same way year after year, we can't expect to see any different results. So we need to figure out what we're lacking and what we're not doing right. Scouting is a big part of that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I guess just taking a little step back, you're obviously a big believer in precision agriculture. So for some of our listeners who may not be as familiar, can you explain exactly what precision ag is and what it entails and why it is so important?
I think precision ag has a lot of different definitions depending on who you talk to. Precision ag could be something as simple as a variable rate prescription for fertilizer. To some people, precision ag is equipment and hardware that you might put on a piece of machinery, but it really encompasses any time that we're making a decision to better our agronomic inputs. It could really be considered precision ag. On one side, yes, we do look at variable rate seeding recommendations. Some areas of the field can handle a different population of plants than other areas of the field based on soil type and water holding capacity and just yield ability for those areas of the field. But precision ag can also be, are we placing every seed at the exact spacing? If we want 5 inches between each seed, do we have the equipment that can do that? Are we getting the seed at the right depth evenly all the way across the field? Are we closing that trench right? I just lost lights here. Give me a second. There we go. So, yield monitors on combines, that's part of precision ag. If we don't know how the yield varies across the field at the end of the year, we're really missing a piece of that puzzle on making the right prescriptions for seed and fertilizer as well. So it all kind of ties together. I have been involved with precision planting and ag leader technology, helping farmers with auto steer systems and getting their planters and combines and sprayers set up correctly. With sprayers now, the big thing is independent nozzles and having cameras that can detect weeds with the See and Spray systems. It's all very exciting. Obviously, there needs to be training on these systems, how to use them properly, how to make the right prescriptions, ahead of time. But precision ag really encompasses a good chunk of what we do in agriculture anymore.
Yeah, so I know you mentioned See and Spray, and also with drones. I know those are amazing technologies that are coming out, but there's also some issues that can come with that learning curve. And one of them is a lot of product waste and finding the best way to maybe make a prescription and not waste as much chemicals so you know exactly how much you need before going out. And I know Taranis kind of could help with that. What are some ways that Taranis can help with, spraying when it comes to drones?
Well, the past couple of years, I've been using Taranis maps and weed detection. I've had a lot of instances where we had soybeans that maybe were planted in 15-inch rows. So it's very difficult to drive across those without leaving tracks. Some farmers will put tram lines in to run the same tracks every time. But we've had areas of fields where you might have a 40-acre field and you have 8 acres of that you have volunteer corn that you want to try to take out. In the past, we've always just loaded everything we might possibly need for each acre of that field in one tank. You might have 7 to 10 products in a tank at one time. And not all these products are super compatible with each other. We know that products like clethodim do not work so well with your growth regulators, your dicambas and your 2,4-Ds. They're a little bit antagonistic against each other. So if we can make a separate application with that clethodim, we can run our growth regulators in one pass, and we might have a small portion of that field that has the volunteer corn in it. We can take the drone out and pretty efficiently just target those 8 acres of the field and have 1 or maybe 2 products in the drone to take care of that. It saves a lot of money because we're not putting a product on every acre and spending the money on that. We're more efficient with that product because we're not dealing with that antagonism anymore of the tank mix and all the different products in that. And at the end of the day, we're being environmentally friendly too by just putting the right products where they're needed.
Yeah, so you mentioned, it helps you be more efficient, and time management is crucial in ag retail. So what are some of the key strategies or tools that you guys employ to enhance efficiency in your operations?
The nice thing about having good scouting is that we're not going to go to the field and be surprised by what we're going to see out there. So if we have good maps and good data to go off of, the agronomist that is needing to write the recommendation for that farm can be confident that he's got the right products in the tank before the whole system goes out to the field. And there's not that phone call from the applicator saying, hey, did you know there's dandelions out here? Or, hey, do you know this has volunteer corn and you don't have anything in the mix? So we're doing a better job at getting the products out to the field when they need to go out to the field because we've got the data ahead of time. It's challenging with agronomists that are covering so many acres now. It's challenging to get every acre scouted, and a lot of times scouting might be just driving along the side of the field, and there might be an area in the field in the back that you can't see from the road that has an entirely different issue that you don't know about unless you get a set of eyes on it. So I like walking fields, but I don't get to walk a lot of the fields that I really feel like I should. Having those Taranis maps there in the office shows us, exactly what's going on across every acre of the field. It also helps with the dispatching. If we know that we've got rain in a certain area, we could actually see the rainfall in Taranis and kind of when the rainfall events happened. Looking at the dashboard, the timeline feature is really nice there. But we know where the heaviest weed pressure is, so we can direct our efforts to really tackle those fields that need the most attention first, and then work our way down the list. There might be fields that we thought we needed to spray, and we see on the Taranis dashboard that everything looks pretty good in those fields. I had instances last year where customers were debating on if they were going to make a certain pass, and we counted on Taranis to give us the confidence that we were potentially okay skipping a pass and using those dollars that we had intended in the pass for an application later, like a fungicide application or a foliar feed. We were able to direct those dollars spent on that acre in a way that was going to give the customer the best return.
Yeah, so Taranis is just one way you've kind of helped build loyalty with your growers. So what is some of the feedback that you've received from your clients about these new technology solutions that you're helping implement?
Well, the biggest feedback is just the yield gains that we're seeing. It's we're growing our yield. Our cost of production is not necessarily growing at the same rate. So as long as our yields are growing faster than our costs are, it's actually becoming less expensive to put an acre of corn in because of the yield that we're able to get back out of it. So I guess that's been the best or the most common feedback is, we're putting our resources to good use where they're needed and giving us a return on investment.
Yeah, so I guess looking ahead, what trends or innovations in precision ag are you most excited about? And kind of what do you see the industry evolving over the next few years?
Well, autonomy is definitely part of that, with what we're doing with these sprayer drones. And I think that we're going to see new autonomous solutions coming out with planting equipment, possibly combining. We've got the autonomous grain carts out there in the fields now. It doesn't work everywhere. Obviously, there's some places that the terrain and the environment is suited better for autonomous solutions than others. But one of the big issues we have is the workforce, and finding people to run everything and get everything accomplished in a timely manner. And so the autonomy is definitely going to help with that. But we need people that understand how to make autonomy work in the field. And back to the prescriptions and putting together the right recommendations for the equipment to run is a need.
Yeah, so it sounds like you've been using drones for some of your trial work you've been doing. Can you tell me some more about exactly what you've seen with those trials?
Yeah, absolutely. The drones have really made a difference in being able to get small, blocks of product out on acres, and it's given us much more data at a faster rate than what we've ever been able to do in the past. And if we need to put a trial in, a lot of times in the past it's been about stopping the sprayer, putting a different tank mix in the sprayer. With airplanes and helicopters, the airplanes are flying 400 acres to a time. Well, 400 acres is a pretty big trial, to load for it. A pilot isn't super happy when you tell them you just want to load a 20-acre batch into an airplane for a flight. So the drones have been awesome for being able to put these trials in place and then being able to follow up and then go through and see the effects of these trials. So the seed genetics side of things is so big too. I was just having a conversation with a coworker today about how managing the agronomy based on the genetics that we have out there is really where the next yield advancements are going to come in, and knowing the right timing of the applications. There's some genetics that like early timing on some of our products. There's some genetics that prefer a later timed application. Split nitrogen versus single pass nitrogen, that varies from one genetic to the next. And being able to watch and observe what's going on with these crops within Tyrannus, and using some of the imagery that we have there to evaluate what's going on with these different genetics in the field has been really nice for me as an agronomist, and helps me make better recommendations for my customers. And it also gives me a tool that I can back up my recommendations and build credibility with the customer. It's not just me saying, hey, I think this is what's going on. I've got the data to back it up.
Yeah, so it sounds like, you have a good handle on integrating technology with your customers. What advice would you give to other agronomists or growers who are looking to integrate more technology onto their operations, but are kind of unsure about where to start?
Well, I think one of the most important things when it comes to precision agriculture is we've got to use it. We can have all the technology available to us and have it sitting there, but if we don't use it, we're not going to get any benefit out of it. A lot of times I've hopped in a tractor with somebody the tractor has auto steer, but they haven't been trained on how to use it, so they're still driving. And we've all heard, and we kind of joke about the fact there's more corn in a crooked row, right? But is it really the case? And sometimes it's just there's a little bit of a fear of trying something new, and wondering if it's worth it and if it's going to work. And we don't want people to know that we don't understand how to do something. And so it's a little challenging sometimes for us to take that step and try something new and go into the unknown a little bit. But from my experience, it almost always pays off. And if the more we're willing to learn and the more we're willing to challenge ourselves to learn and try some of these new technologies, the more successful we can be with what we're trying to accomplish.
For sure. Have you kind of seen like a trickle effect? Farmers talk all the time. So, maybe one integrates something and then, have you seen that happen in your area with anything?
Absolutely. When we do our stand counts with the Tyrannus and they're sitting in the coffee shops like, oh, I have 37,584 plants per acre. And the other guy sitting across the table at the coffee shop says, how the heck do you know that? And then, there's, there's a little bit of a jealousy that goes on because one guy's using the technology and the other guy, hasn't implemented it yet. So there definitely is I would say almost a snowball effect. Once you see a little bit going on in an area, people want to try it too.
Yeah. So I guess we're going to switch over to more of like a personal note. What motivates you in your work, and what do you find the most rewarding about precision ag?
Well, improvement. That is seeing areas of opportunity and being able to come up with a solution to improve those areas. There's a field right across from my house. My in-laws farm the ground around me, and I started working as a crop advisor to them about 10 years ago, and we've made little advancements one at a time, and seeing how each small advancement gained us some yield, it gained us on our efficiency. We've made life easier for ourselves in many ways with some of these technology upgrades and programs that we've implemented agronomically. But I'd like to brag a little bit. We've got one of the best stands that we've ever had. And as I leave my driveway in the morning and look out across that cornfield and see every corn plant spaced perfectly, came up evenly out of the ground, it's one of the best stands we've ever had. And being able to do that for my customers so that when they leave their driveways in the morning, they can look out of their field and say, hey, this is the best field that I've ever grown. That is absolutely the biggest reward as an agronomist. For somebody that has their heart in agriculture, it's exciting to see those kinds of improvements. And there's always opportunities. Not every field is perfect. And so we look at those opportunities that are out there this year, and when we start asking ourselves, why did this happen? What can we do in the future to change that and improve? And so even when we have a perfect stand now and have every plant spaced the same way, and now we're looking at what can we do with biologicals? What can we do with we've already sprayed. We've got 3-leaf corn now that's got a perfect stand. We're still trying to improve it. What can we do to maximize this? What's our new yield goal? That's a big question now. We've hit the 300 bushel mark. What's next? 400? 450 on non-irrigated ground. that's exciting. And so we take those stands out there that we know we've already got a tremendous start to them. Tyrannus can show us that on the map where our best populations are in the field. Okay, maybe we're going to target that area and just see if we can push that a little bit more to see what we can gain and what the final result will be. And as a farmer, that's exciting.
Yeah, I think often with me just recently starting, it's really easy to go into my insights and look at, the worst stands or the worst weed pressure. But like you said, there's also benefits to that. Like how can we set up that crop for the future and get the most out of what we have out there? I guess it sounds like you guys are pretty much finished up with planting, it sounds like. So what are some things you've seen here early season that you've been able to catch with Tyrannus and make some recommendations thus far?
So, Elaina, you and I worked on a replant scenario that we had some bottom ground and we had a lot of water here the past couple of weeks. So we were able to just replant that here this past weekend. And I took a look at the map from the drone and the best thing about Tyrannus is just the turnover time. That field gets flown. We have maps the next day and we're able to make those timely decisions. But I shared the map with this particular customer. And we were able to start having a discussion of, what's the acceptable stand count? How much of this field do we want to take out and how much do we want to replant? And so that's one of the things we've been doing. We've been looking at some weed escapes. I had some fields that we know got sprayed correctly. We knew that the spray mix was correct. We're starting to have weed escapes, and it brought up some conversations of why is this happening? Well, we have had a couple of hard rains, and when you start looking at where the weed escapes were, well, it's around waterways and it's in compacted areas of the field. So we know it's not a chemical problem. We know that because of the environment around that, when all that rain came down, we lost our chemical. That chemical potentially moved a little bit. Thankfully, we have waterways that are seeded down to prevent that chemical from moving very far, but it did move it a little bit off a target rate. And when you have a big rain event, that can happen. Being able to look at the maps and have discussions about what's going on and trying to figure out where the problem lies. Maybe we have the discussion on, do we need to make the waterway a little bigger, or those compacted areas, should we have run a ripper across those? And that's been some of the discussions the past couple of days we've had with growers.
Yeah, communication is key, and I think that's something we really value here at Tyrannus, is making sure that we're on top of those insights and communicating things with retailers and growers alike. I know you're really good at communicating, and I follow you on social media, and you're super busy and, communicating what you're seeing out there in the field. But what do you like to do when you're not in the field, not talking to growers? What are some of your hobbies or activities that you really enjoy?
I'm a big Packers fan. So in the winter, we'll be at Lambeau Field a couple times throughout the year. Baseball's a big thing too. Hopefully we'll make it to a Cubs Brewers game here Memorial Day weekend as kind of the tentative plan for now. And then spending time with the kids. My oldest is 15. The youngest is 8. And so spending time with them, we're putting up a pool here this summer. So we'll have some good pool days, I think.
Yeah. Sounds like you guys have a fun summer planned, and look forward to seeing what comes for the future of this growing season. So, Andrew, as we wrap up, are there any final thoughts or key messages you'd like to share to our listeners about the future of ag or the role that technology is shaping it?
I guess the biggest thing is embrace it. Don't be scared of it. The data that we can collect is just going to help us be a little smarter about what we do in the future. And I like the slogan, work smarter, not harder. So we can put a lot of hours in, and farmers are really good at that, at working really hard. But sometimes we can work a little bit easier too. And that's what technology helps us be able to do. So I've had to remind some of my customers that I work with, there's a reason that you're a farmer. It's because you love agriculture. Take a few moments to enjoy it. It's easy to get stressed out and think that things aren't going perfect, and things rarely do go perfect. But enjoy what you do. Enjoy being outside. Work safely, of course. But embrace the technology and the learning that we can do through the precision agriculture process.
Well, Andrew, it's been fantastic having you on AcreForward podcast today. Your insights into precision agriculture and the use of technology in farming are truly inspiring, and I want to thank you for sharing your expertise and experiences with us today. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to AcreForward and stay tuned for more conversations with leaders and innovators in the ag industry. For more information about Tyrannus and our technology, please visit Tyrannus.com or follow us on social media. Until next time, this is Elaina Ripberger signing off from Indiana, encouraging all of our listeners to keep growing, keep learning, and keep moving the acre forward. Take care, everyone.